Well, hello everybody. Well, in today's video, I'm not going to play Bloodborne. I'm going to talk about Bloodborne. In the last video, which was the end of the game, I said I was going to make another video just discussing Bloodborne. And yeah, so this is going to be the video. So I wrote some things down on a piece of paper, just all the things I want to talk about and go through. So what I might do, I'll start with the cons. I've written down pros and cons. But don't worry, because I've only got a few cons, but they're just slight nitpicking, you know, that I've got I think Bloodborne is a perfect game, but there was just a couple of slight nitpicks while playing Bloodborne, but I hope they're not too big of a deal. So I'll start with limited consumables in inventory. Yeah, so you had 10 sedatives, which reduced your frenzy, and also I think you had 10 antidotes, which was poison, reduced poison effects. So they only gave you, the game only allows you to have 10, as well as fire paper and bulk paper. You could only have 10, but I guess, you know, that wasn't too bad. Just that I thought that when I was playing, I thought that frenzy and poison seemed to be quite a bit too powerful. I'm not sure why, because when you play Dark Souls, you have, you know, the poison ring, and as well as armor in the game that kind of greatly reduces poison effects. But in Bloodborne, it seemed like the poison and frenzy was quite overpowered. But that's just a small nitpick about the game. It's not a big deal. But another thing I noticed when playing was the locking on enemies. Sometimes it felt a bit glitchy. You know, sometimes it wouldn't lock onto the enemies when you pushed down on the, I think the R2 or R3 thumbsticks, whichever one it is. I get confused about which when you press down to do the lock on enemies. But I just felt it, you know, sometimes I couldn't lock onto the enemies, or sometimes it would unstick from enemies, so it was just slightly frustrating. So yeah, so those are the cons of the game. Pros of the game. So just before I said, you know, Bloodborne was, you know, I thought it was the almost perfect game, or it is a perfect game. I think From Software certainly nailed it with their action RPGs after the Dark Souls series. I thought maybe Bloodborne was slightly easier than Dark Souls. I thought maybe there's more iframes in Bloodborne, invincibility frames in Bloodborne than there are in Dark Souls. I'm not sure, but maybe I was just leveled up quite highly. But earlier in the game, you know, I found myself, you know, taking on the earlier bosses, like I was doing quite well by myself. In fact, there was only one enemy in the base game that I summoned. I summoned an NPC, and that was for Ebritis. Is that how you pronounce her name? Ebritis, daughter of the Cosmo. Yeah, she was quite tough. That was after the Upper Cathedral Ward and fighting the, you know, that big kind of blue alien boss. I forget the name. Is it? Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what the name of that boss was, but yeah, Iberitus, daughter of the Cosmo. She was quite tough. Oh yeah, and another thing that I think the reason why Bloodborne was slightly easier than Dark Souls was you didn't have to worry about weight management. And in Dark Souls you had to kind of, you know, you had to take off armor so you could fast roll, or you make do with medium roll, which I didn't really like medium roll. I preferred fast roll and playing Dark Souls. But yeah, you didn't have to worry about weight management in Bloodborne, and I think that, you know, that was quite refreshing. You know, you could just pick up a weapon that you found and level up your strength, and you know, you didn't have to worry about whether you were fat rolling or, you know, anything like that. So yeah, I found that quite refreshing in Bloodborne, not having to worry about weight management. Okay, what else? Yeah, so I fought all of the bosses by myself without summoning in the base game, apart from Iberitus. Ebritis. Yeah, I've got two different spellings for her name written down here on a piece of paper. So I was looking at the one spelt the wrong way. Yeah, so I think her name is pronounced Ebritis, daughter of the Cosmo. Yeah, so I summoned an NPC for her. Also, Amygdala. Amygdala was the big giant enemy, kind of. Had in the Nightmare Frontier. That was the boss in the Nightmare Frontier. Yeah, maybe that boss wasn't tough, but it just was, it kind of did drag on a bit. I think you needed the right weapon to fight it. You needed quite a long weapon to hit its head. But you know, I was using the hammer, Kirk hammer, Also, I've got written down here Martyr Logorius. Yeah, he was quite a little bit difficult as well. Martyr Logorius. He was the boss in Canehurst Castle. And also, I've got written down here Mikolash. Mikolash was the boss in the Nightmare Mensis. He wasn't like a hard boss, he was just slightly annoying. Yeah, so those were the kind of, I've got written down here, tough bosses. So, I think Abritus, Daughter of the Cosmos, was probably the toughest boss in the game. So, areas in the base game. I think when you compare the areas of Bloodborne to the areas of Dark Souls, I think most of them were fun. I think most of the areas in Bloodborne were fun, and I like how the areas connected back, you know, to the beginning of the area. You know, like the Yharnam. I'm thinking about how the beginning of Yharnam, you have to open a gate to get back to it takes you back to the beginning of the area. So I thought most of the areas were quite fun to go through, but I've got here except Nightmare Frontier. I think the beginning of Nightmare Frontier with the frenzy, but once you get past that and in the, you know, that building with all the spiders, it's not so bad. And also I've written here, oh no, wait a second, sorry, I got mixed up. Nightmare Frontier is that has the boss with Amygdala. I'm thinking of Nightmare Mensis. Nightmare Mensis is the area that has their frenzy at the beginning, and then it has the building with the spiders. Yeah, sorry about that, but I've gotten written down that both Nightmare Frontier and Nightmare Mensis are slightly annoying areas. Yeah, so, and also, talking about, I was just talking about bosses that were quite hard. I also, just normal enemies that I found a bit annoying and difficult were those enemies with the big head, and they sing, and you take frenzy damage from them. Yeah, they're probably the most annoying enemies in the game. Along with those, I'm not sure what they were. They big kind of dog-like creatures, or they look like a dog to me, and they kind of do a back kick on you at Canehurst Castle, and also in the Chalice dungeons, where they would randomly appear. Yeah, they're pretty annoying enemies, along with the frenzy attacking enemies as well. Okay, so foot bosses, tough bosses. You know, I talked about areas in the game that were fun, yeah. Yes, I think Yarnum was quite a fun area. Yeah, most of the areas were quite fun. Fun to go through. Apart from Nightmare Frontier and Nightmare Mensis. Okay, so we'll move on to the Chalice Dungeons. I thought the Chalice Dungeons was, you know, quite a interesting addition to the game. How they, not the root Chalice Dungeons were random. You could randomize them and create your own, but they were quite limited as well because all of the dungeons, they had the same base look about them, even though they were slightly different. I think it was, no, I can't remember now, it was the final dungeon that I did. There had a lot more lighting to it, which was good because I could see a lot better. Yeah. But I think the Chalice Dungeons just looked kind of the same. You know, it would have been nice if they were completely randomized. But they were an interesting addition to the game. It would be nice for them for From Software to kind of bring them back. Maybe in another Dark Souls game, if they do make another Dark Souls game. Well, it would have been nice to have something like the Chalice Dungeons and Dark Souls. Yeah, and also regarding the bosses in the Chalice Dungeons, yeah, some of them were quite difficult. I did summon a few times for the Chalice Dungeon bosses. But yeah, for the Chalice Dungeons were quite fun and interesting. But I think, yeah, and another thing is with the loot. The treasure chests and that are in the Chalice Dungeon, sometimes you would come across one of those, I think gold coffins, and you'd open them up and there'd be ritual material. But I did get find a couple of weapons. In the Chalice Dungeons, which was, you know, pretty good. Yeah, so all up, you know, Chalice Dungeons were, you know, pretty cool. So let's move on to the DLC, the Hunter's Nightmare, I think it was, or was that just the area? Yeah, I know it's written on the case of the game, but I don't have it on me at the moment. But yeah, I thought the DLC was pretty good, but I thought it was slightly short. I don't know, but I think my character might have been over leveled for the DLC, especially with that the whirly gig sword that I found in the DLC, and I leveled it up. I think I was pretty over leveled because some people found one of the bosses in the game. It was the boss where he had the head on the ground after you killed him. Ludwig. Yeah, Ludwig is supposed to be quite a hard boss, but okay, did I kill him on my first try? Or was it my second try? I think it might have been my first try. Off the top of my head. Yeah. So, because I think a lot of people was having quite difficult in killing him. But, yeah, did I kill him on my first try? I think I did. Yeah, see, I think I might have been pretty over-leveled for the DLC. Yeah, I think, the female, after all of the... I should have written all of the stuff down, because now that I'm thinking about the game, I'm remembering all this other stuff that I should have wrote down. But yeah, that female boss before you go outside into that fishing area. Yeah, she was a little bit tough. And also there was Lawrence, the first vicar. Yeah, I killed him on my first try as well. And then there was son of... Oh god. I should have really thought about this stuff before I wrote it down. Yeah, there was like the son of someone. There was the boss in the fishing area. Yeah, I took him a couple of tries to kill him. Yeah, but you know, the DLC had interesting areas as well. Now, especially now that I think about it, that what was it? It was like a hall with all the going up the elevators. Research hall. Yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare to get through, because especially trying to find that locked door thing. Yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare, but yeah, the DLC was pretty cool as well. But if a little short. Yeah, I just thought the DLC was short, but then again, the Dark Souls DLC was short as well when you think about it. So yeah, but it was the DLC was a pretty good addition to the game. Yeah, so Bloodborne, you know, I just have you know, good things to say about it. going back to what I was saying about iframes, I think I noticed I was dodging attacks when you lock onto an enemy and you can strafe, to the left or to the right. I think that has iframes, because one of those enemies after the upper cathedral and cathedral ward, it had earlier in the game when I was playing, had that annoying enemy who kept spamming the gun that I had to fight. I noticed I was dodging his bullets when I was strafing to the left or to the right while I was locked onto him. But yeah, I think there seem to be invincibility frames. It was more easier to dodge attacks in Dark Souls. Yeah, so I think I've covered everything. So I don't really have much bad things to say about the game. I mean, I'm pretty happy about it. I think it took me a couple months. It took me 2 months to finish. Yeah, so I don't have much bad things to say about Bloodborne. I think it is a really good game. I enjoy playing it, and I definitely am going to come back to it. Maybe do New Game Plus. Wonder where that area is. Oh, is that... I'm just looking at what's on the screen. Is that the bloodletting beast? Is that what it's called? The bloodletting beast? Was that the boss in Yharnam? Just looking at what was playing on the screen. Yeah, so definitely Bloodborne is a good game. I'll definitely be coming back to it, but I've got other games I want to play. Also, I should also talk about PvP, even though I think I got invaded in the Nightmare Mensis. I think I got invaded a couple of times because I just wasn't sure at the time when I was playing. Yeah, because I think I got invaded twice. But yeah, the thing about the bell, the summoning bell, compared to the soapstone in Dark Souls, I think, it'd be nice to be able to, when you summon someone, they appear, or you summon them, where they're going to appear. You put your you know, you sign down on the ground, and where the other player summons you, that is where you appear. But in Bloodborne, if you use the small summoning bell to help players beat the boss, if you go walking, then you'll summon into the world where you left your game. That is not really important, but still, I think I prefer the soapstones over the summoning bell. But I thought the connection, I thought it was pretty solid. You know, I didn't seem to have any problems with getting summoned or people summoning me. Also, I also like the password. You could have like a little password. I actually did that off a few times offline because other people wanted me to help them fight the bosses, so I did it offline without recording it. And I think the password system of summoning players is a pretty good idea. But yeah, that was kind of in Dark Souls 2 as well. It all was a ring. You wore like a ring of a god, or you wear a ring, you choose which god, and the other person does that as well, and you can summon into their world, and they into yours. Yeah, so PvP, I didn't try invading anybody, but maybe in my next playthrough, when I do a next playthrough of Bloodborne, I might invade a couple of times. Just wondering where that is, where all those things are on the ground. I wonder if that was in the Chalice dungeon. Because I think in the area in the Chalice dungeon there's those things sticking out in the ground, kind of in a round area. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say. I think Bloodborne is definitely, you know, a 5-star game, 10 out of 10. Yeah, so just can't really think of anything else to say. About it. Or yeah, no, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. Yeah, so no, I can't think of anything else. Bloodborne is a perfect game, and From Software definitely is one of the best game developers that we have. So I hope you all enjoyed watching. I've certainly talked a lot longer than most of my other videos. Yeah, so, and this is the final video in my Bloodborne playthrough. So thanks for listening to me, and I will see you in another playthrough. So see you all later. And thanks for watching and listening.